Hey, welcome to the Sounds on Vinyl show. My name, as always, is, well, you know my name. And from across the pond, I've got two co-hosts. That's going to be Mike and Soren. Guys, how the hell's it going over there in the land of Vikings, where you guys
Very
drink from
well.
the horns? And
Oh, it's good. It's good, man.
It's going so good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Drinking out of the horns and having a lot of fun.
That's right, man. That's what it's all about. Drinking out of the horns and spinning records. That's what it's all about. That's life right there.
We're actually spinning records with a horn.
Oh, wow. It's kicking it up a notch. Wow. All right.
Oh, my God.
Nice.
Damn.
All right. Well, this week we are picking up where we left off last week, talking about the epic vinyl covers that you can go ahead and collect and the differences between the different pressings and all that good stuff. And with that, I think I'm going to hand it over to Soren because he's got a really epic record that he's going to talk about next.
Oh, thank you so much, Phil. Well, the idea of these couple of episodes on covers is just to tell people what kind of covers they might encounter when they go crate digging. The differences between covers. We've seen albums released in different countries with different covers. We've seen loads of stuff, and I thought today's show would be the start for today's show would be to show one of the real classics. This is probably an album that's familiar to most of our listeners and viewers out there. This is the debut album by Black Sabbath, originally released in 1970 on Vertigo Records. Sorry, and it's a standard gatefold album with Black Sabbath written inside and inner sleeve in Vertigo logo and all that. The story behind the next album I'm going to show you, because that's also a copy of the first Black Sabbath album, just not released on Vertigo. Because when Black Sabbath was signed to Vertigo Records, we're going to say that Vertigo Records was owned by Philips, and Philips also had a label called Fontana. And they were kind of they had different purposes, these labels. Vertigo was supposed to be this hip, hard rocking, a bit psychedelic music for the younger kids in the very late 60s, early 70s. And Fontana was a label designed more to sort of light entertainment and pop music and that sort of stuff. Bit broader kind of musical spectrum than Vertigo. But when Black Sabbath was signed to Vertigo, there was a bit of negotiation about whether Black Sabbath should be put out on Fontana or Vertigo. And actually, from the very, very first, in the first days after they were signed, they were actually meant to be put out on Vertigo. Oh, sorry, on Fontana. That's the whole point of all this stuff. They were supposed to be put out on Fontana, but of course that changed to Vertigo Records. But in Australia, where Philips was a huge record company, they still are. They didn't have distribution yet for Vertigo Records in Australia, so they decided to put out Black Sabbath on Fontana in Australia. And I believe also, I don't know, there one South American country, I'm not sure if it's Uruguay or Brazil, I'm not sure, but this was actually released on Fontana in Australia. And this is quite a rare copy. I mean, you might find it, of course, if you live in Australia, but outside of Australia, it's very rare. I bought this in Australia from a guy in Australia who sent it to me. Of course, I didn't go to Australia, but if you look at here, you'll see the blue Fontana label. It also has slightly different track listing than the UK version, and it's a very, very interesting record. Now, this is a very thin record. I mean, most records are, 140 grams up until 200 grams. Today, most albums are 180 grams. But this is actually very thin, very light. I haven't weighed it, but I would probably think it's about 114, 120 grams vinyl. But I gotta tell you, it sounds incredible. It really does. And also the sleeve here is a bit wobbly, not as thick and sturdy as the UK one, and also a single sleeve. So, but Black Sabbath, if you're a Black Sabbath collector, you gotta go for this.
So if you compare them to the UK version, which one of them do you prefer when it comes to the sound?
I think I actually prefer the Fontana.
Oh,
and it's difficult to say why, but I think there's a little bit more bottom to the sound, and it's slightly I don't know, it's lighter in a way. It's a bit more defined, the sound. But of course, the UK original is incredible also. But there's something about the Fontana that I just love. I have 2 copies of it because the first one I got was a little bit scratchy. Not as in unplayable. But I found another copy that is perfectly clean and very quiet. And that's the one I play the most. But it's a fun thing to have if you're a Black Sabbath collector. I'm not really a Black Sabbath collector, but this album is really special to me and a lot of other people, I'm sure.
So from a collecting standpoint, which one is worth more? Because like if you're in Australia, those are probably a dime a dozen, so they're not really that rare for Australians at the time, but for the rest of the world they are. So does that increase the value of that Fontana version because it was only released in Australia?
Well, the funny thing is that not a lot of people know about this release. Because when you collect Black Sabbath, you will immediately go for the UK first pressing. So that one is the most expensive, the highest valued of these two, definitely. This is quite expensive record if you find it in good condition and all that. But most people will seek up the UK version. The Fontana is sort of mid-priced. I think I paid around $50 for it some years ago. I don't know the value today, but it's still one of those hidden gems in a way. Not many people have heard of this or even aware that it exists. You really got to know your Black Sabbath to know this, and most people don't, because they will find the UK version. That's the one they go for. So it's good value also.
Interesting.
If you find
cool.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Nice.
Now, another thing I'm going to show you. This is we're into cover types here. This is a Pet Sounds Beach Boys album. A Danish pressing, by the way, but that's not the point of showing this. This is the cover was made in America, shipped to Denmark and packaged along with the vinyl pressed here. But if you look closely here, you'll see a kind of a flip edge around the whole record here, and that is a special cover type that the most of the UK companies and also American companies used in the 60s. I think they stopped doing this around 70. So if you find it's called a flip back cover, and it's just a way that it's been glued together. If you look at a normal record cover today or from the 70s or whatever, you'll see that the flip back is inside here in the hole, but here it's sort of flipped around the back of the album. So if you find let's say a Beatles album or Beach Boys, Rolling Stones, whatever, with this flip side, you'll know that it could be a very early pressing, because they stopped doing it in 1970. So and now with the in the last years or so with the vinyl resurgence, a lot of record companies have actually started doing this again on reissues to actually to make it look what's the
like all nostalgia and stuff.
Yeah, very nostalgic, and also to make it look authentic in a way.
Yeah.
But on all the records with this, you're probably looking at a pre 1970 pressing for sure.
Hmm.
Is there a story behind that? Why they did it like that? I'm
not sure. I think in the 60s they were probably experimenting with different kinds of covers, trying out different layouts, and maybe some guy said, "Well, let's flip on the back. That'll hold the record much better." And maybe they decided it was too expensive to do two different kinds of covers, and then dropped this idea. Or maybe they found out that it wasn't as good as they thought, or I don't really know. It's a label thing, because labels are the ones that decide how to sell their music and how to package it. So I think it's EMI, Decca, those kind of British labels that started doing this. So you'll see these types of sleeves on sub labels and labels that EMI work with. This is Capitol Records in the United States, and they distributed EMI's catalog in the States, and vice versa. Cool. So yeah.
Oh, so nice. So I've got some early
on all 60s albums. Only a few labels.
All right.
Yeah,
I got a couple of those Stones albums with the. I was wondering why the hell is it made like this?
Yeah,
so now I know.
You'll definitely find it on the old mono pressings of Stones and Beatles records. They most of them will have that cover. Yeah, because most of them were printed in the UK, or some of them are in the States also. But yeah, cool. Flip back covers.
Flip back covers.
I thought we should go into Michael territory here a bit.
There we go. We know where this is going.
we know where this is heading. Yeah, because Michael, you had some goods with you also. You had
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Do you want to show?
You
them?
Want me to? Yeah, of course. Look at this.
Oh yeah.
Destroyer.
What is this?
Destroyer by Kiss.
Destroyer.
Of course.
But it's a different cover.
It's a different cover. And
it is.
Can you tell? Because I'm holding the official version here, released in '76.
Yes.
But Mike, tell us a bit about the background.
This is the Resurrected, and it was released. Oh, I'm bad with it. 2012. I don't know, 12-ish, something like that. Yeah. The story goes that Ken Kelley, who did the cover art, it's a painting that he did. He didn't actually know that they changed their costumes, so he drew them from the costumes that they had on for the Alive tour. And so he did this cover art as a first draft, and when they saw it, it's the wrong outfit, so you have to redo it. But now we know that's just a thing that they said. It's not true at all, because if you go with the facts, why the hell would they tell Ken Kelley to draw them like this when they actually look like something different? If you hold up the original Destroyer Soren there, you can see it's a different outfit. Mm-hmm. So if you were to contact an art guy to do the cover art, you will hand him a photograph. The boys look like this. This is the band, because he never heard of them.
No.
So
But I think
And
one explanation might be that when he did that cover, the costumes weren't ready because they were in Europe during the spring of '76 on the Destroyer tour after this record was released, but still wearing their alive outfit. And this outfit wasn't actually introduced until June or July of '76. They were
now
seen for the first time in these.
And now, sir, into the completely nerdy crap. Are you ready?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine, you know him. They did some research, and it's painted in a different way. In a way that couldn't have been done in the 70s.
Oh,
actually, at all. Yeah.
Tell us more.
It's done with a different kind of thing. It's not on canvas. It's done with some, I don't know, the paintbrushes and the strokes. You know, Carl and Anders, Carl and Alex. They wrote a book.
Yeah,
and they did this on a loop. They tried it out, and they interviewed Ken Kelley too, and he has no recollection of how things in detail happened. Which is also kind of funny. So why wouldn't you? It became one of the biggest rock and roll albums of all time, and he has no recollection of speaking to the art director, speaking to the record label, and so forth. And he only goes with the story that Paul and Gene fed him. That this is supposed to be the original one, so he painted it like this. But that's an reconstruction of the story. I am actually I'm not going to vouch 110% for this, but it's in Alex and Carl's book, though.
Yeah.
So they discuss this, and it's a nerdy level right there, but it's cool to have.
I think another reason that it was actually it was pulled again, that version, is the label thought it was too violent.
Yeah,
because you can see burning cities and smoke and whatnot, and in the later and official, it's kind of toned down a bit.
Yeah,
so it doesn't look like.
And I have a reprint here.
Oh,
actually, of the original, and it's much darker than the cover art, and it's signed by Ken Kelley.
Oh, of course.
And this is one of those great stories that Phil, my buddy Phil, he was there in Las Vegas when we met Ken Kelley.
Yeah.
And me and a buddy of mine from Sweden, Martin, we went there to the Las Vegas mini golf, and Ken Kelley was there, and Gene Simmons had his vault experience there. And we were so like, holy crap, it's Ken Kelley, man. Whoa. And Phil goes, huh?
What
are you talking about? It's Ken Kelley, man. He did all the cool covers with like, he did Destroyer, and he did Love Gun, and he did like...
Phil, I'm going to ask you, how many times have you heard Michael tell this story?
Oh, it's been a couple times. It's been a couple times. But that was a fun experience talking with Ken Kelley and.
But you still love me though.
Oh
right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and Ken Kelley, of course, also did Love Gun.
Yeah,
and this one.
Oh,
Rainbow!
Oh my God,
Rainbow Rising, also done by Ken Kelley. But Ken Kelley, he used to do Conan the O'Brien. He's one of the comic guys, actually. He used to do comic book covers.
Yeah. A really nice dude.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Yeah,
really cool.
But this is also the fun bit about record covers, that if you find a record cover you like, and you'll kind of look into who's the artist behind this, and you can discover what other albums they did, or maybe they've done completely different stuff. But that's one of the things I really like. That's investigate a little bit further than just the music. So, and that's how I found out that Ken Kelley also did this, because I grew up with Destroyer and this record for many years without knowing the link. So it's kind of a bit of a
But
nice touch.
That was the stuff that caught your eye back in the day when you were growing up, when we were like 12 or 13 years old, and you're looking at the covers. I remember, I saw Destroyer for the first time, and I thought it was like epic. And you remember the Gateful to Alive 2 with the bombs and explosion and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the covers. I mean, the cover art, buy a vinyl record with a white cover. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody would buy that except for Beatles fans. This is the white album. No, I'm talking about real music here.
Burn.
Black albums. Black albums.
Yes.
The Black album.
Yeah.
Oh
God.
yeah.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't go on the Black album. We don't.
Yeah.
Friends don't let friends listen to the Black album. I'm just saying.
I'm going to bring in another guy now.
Yes.
That a lot of people will know. Maybe not know him, but know his work. There's a guy called Roger Dean who did record covers for most of Yes, that old English progressive rock band Yes. He did most of their album covers. Now, I don't actually have any Yes albums right now, but he also did this Uriah Heap album. And he also did, what's the name of the other Uriah Heap album he did? Never mind. It's a blue one, I think. Well, he did this on the Magician's Birthday. And again, it's one of those gatefold jobs where you get a full picture if you kind of open the record. Now, Roger Dean is often hailed as one of those guys who painted progressive rock. I mean, his images are so progressive rock-ish that he's sort of forever linked to that particular style of music. And even when they did the movie Avatar, because one of his things was drawing islands, islands in the sky, like floating islands. And if you look at the Avatar movie, you'll have a lot of those images of small islands floating around in space or wherever they are in Avatar. I don't know, and I don't care. But Roger Dean actually sued the company who made the film because he felt ripped off that these were actually his ideas that they put into the film. So that's a fun thing. But another cover that Roger Dean also did, which is not a Yes cover, was this a band called Patto. Now, I think I've only listened to this a couple of times for a long time ago. But it's kind of a very 70s sort of psychedelic rock type of thing. But the album cover here is a bit special because it opens up like this. So it's one of those dolls that you can dress. Yeah. And you can take away two of them and then put clothes on them and then change the heads and feet and all. But it's kind of it's one of those gimmick covers that I kind of that I quite like. So Patto.
It's funny because you never see that nowadays.
No. Sorry,
with artists. Never see that nowadays.
No.
With new artists.
No, I think record covers used to be such a playground back in the day. Mm-hmm. All kind of creative idea were just implemented straight on. Look at the Alice Cooper covers that we also talked about the last time. That there are so many fun ideas of packaging music that you rarely see nowadays. Mm-hmm. Another one, of course, when we're talking about gimmick covers, this one. Of course, Twisted Sisters with this, this what is it? Manhole cover, I think, that opens up here in D Snyder. So you rarely see these kinds of things because, of course, they're expensive to make, and you got to know that you can sell a lot of records to spend this kind of money on packaging. But they could back in the 70s and 80s.
Those were the days, man. Those are the days.
Yeah.
Those were the days. Okay. A little fun thing here because some shows ago, I was on and I talked about my favorite album covers and favorite albums, and I mentioned a band called Jethro Tall. I'm going to do another example here because this is the 1974 Warchild album, and there's nothing special about this album cover at all. It's kind of superimposed photo here of Ian Anderson and the skyline. This is Melbourne skyline, I think, in the background here. Nothing special. It will look like this on any pressing in the world. There will be no difference. Except, of course, in 1980, it was repressed in France. But something happened. I don't know. I actually don't know the true story about this, but I can imagine that something happened in the print shop, because this is what the 1980 reissue looked like. Same track list, and there's no difference. Only the album cover is completely different to anywhere else in the world. So this is also one of those albums that are quite rare to find. You won't just you won't find this in any crate, but it's a fun thing to know. But if you find it, you'll know the story behind it.
Cool.
There you go.
So the French 1980 pressing. Okay. Now I'm going to do. We're talking about black albums just before. This is a black album, but it's not the black album. It's Back in Black.
Oh, there we go. Yes, the classic.
I have a classic album, one of the most, one of the records in the world that has sold the most copies. It's beyond belief. This is the American pressing, the first American pressing, and you'll see. I think you can be able to see this. That it has an embossed cover here, kind of a 3D effect, and of course Back in Black written in black here. This is what the record will look like to most people. Now the Australian first release, because of course it was released in Australia, also ACDC being from Australia, but this actually has a blue, kind of a bluish, purplish, light purplish color, and Back in Black written in silver, and no embossed effect.
Interesting.
Of course. ACDC was signed to Albert Productions in Australia. So when you look at the cover, you'll see the Albert Productions label, of course. And in America, they were on Transatlantic, and anywhere else in Europe and in UK, they were on Transatlantic. So the label would look like this. So you have the same album put out the same year, in two different parts of the world, and they look different. They don't sound much different, but still, I think the American pressing is the best. That's incredible.
That's strange, because I have some Australian pressings with early ACDs, and they're like quite different. I mean, the cover art is completely different to the European ones. Yeah, but this is sort of like the same thing. It's only with the silver logo with the title and so forth.
Yeah, I think strange. I'm not really big on ACDC, but I think the first 4 or 5 albums were released in Australia with completely different covers. Yeah. Yes. And I think up until about Highway to Hell, maybe, and onwards, they were more or less the same record covers all over. Yeah. But the first. And I also think they had a different mix. The
Highway to Hell has an Australian cover, which is somewhat different.
Yeah, too. Maybe also different track lists, and there are various differences between the pressings. So if you're an AC/DC collector, you need to look up the Australian originals as well, because you'll get something extra.
I'm seeing a pattern here with Australia. They don't like to play nice with the rest of the world. They got to do things differently. They got all these different covers, It's
It's a bit like Japan. They also put a lot of extra stuff in their records just to annoy us and to ruin us.
Just to ruin us. Damn you!
Now, I think we also talked a bit about first pressings and original releases and that sort of stuff on the last episode. But I have another example here. One of the great albums of rock history, the first Doors album from
Oh yes.
1967.
Mm-hmm.
Now they were released on Elektra Records in the United States. Now I don't have a first pressing of that album. I have only this and some reissues as well. But this is the French. We're going to France again here, but this is the French release of the album, and it wasn't released on Decca because Decca apparently didn't have a distribution deal in France. So a label called Vogue Records, Disc Vogue, they called. Got the rights to release this record on license in France.
Oh.
And now, actually, this also has the flipback cover. I just noticed that. So we are
Oh,
page
it
70
does.
here. Oh, that's
Oh,
a nice
right.
touch. I didn't know that. But also, if you know the Elektra label, they also have they usually have this bronzy kind of tan label. But this is a pink Disc Vogue label. Here for the very first Doors album, and this is a first pressing as well as an American first pressing is. We talked about what defines a first pressing. This is the first French pressing, made probably from the same master tapes and that they used in American everywhere else. It's just on a different label, and it just looks a bit different, but it's a first pressing as well. Also, one of those albums that's quite. I'm not saying it'll ruin you, but it's getting quite. It's rare and getting quite expensive. This most of my records I've been fortunate enough to find for cheap, not cheap, but reasonable prices. I'm not going to pay a lot of money for records, so sometimes I'm lucky out there.
Cool.
Oh. Okay, another thing, we're talking about censorship. We talked about the Destroyer, that the record company thought it was too violent. The first release. Well, another one that kind of got the same treatment is I think we're gonna do a service here for the American audience. This is, of course, Thin Lizzy's Fighting. Now. If you're an American, you'll probably know this record with this picture on it. Iconic, great album, iconic sleeve and all that. But the original UK release looked like this.
There we go.
And they kind of, on the American, they look very nice, don't they? Relaxed, nice. And here, they're just ready to fight. So Phil Lynnett's got this baseball bat, I think it is, and he's holding an iron rod or something, and he's I think Brian Downey's holding a knife here. But the record company in the States thought Mercury Records thought this was a bit too much. We're not going to market Thin Lizzy as a violent group, so they changed the record cover for the American market. Don't know why, but
nice, clean.
This one is much cooler.
Yes,
it is. It is.
Now I have two things left, and we're gonna end on a high note. I think.
Oh, cool.
So when you're out digging, you'll very often. I'm not saying probably. You will always find albums that are kind of. Well, they're kind of violated. Let's just say they're kind of violated, because you might find it has a cut, or maybe a hole, punched through the sleeve. Or the worst example I have is actually a hole punched through the record on the actual label in the middle. I've seen that.
Oh.
I'm not gonna show you, because you won't be able to fall asleep tonight if you see this.
Oh man!
But this is called a deletion cut, or a saw cut, or it has various names. But what it is, when record companies did records, sometimes they made too many records. They made more records than they could actually sell. And it was very, very common that record stores would just return all the records they couldn't sell to the record companies, which in some cases ended up with the record companies having huge storage problems with millions of records being returned, and just nobody wanted to buy them. So what they did is they said to the shops, well, you can have these records to sell at a cheaper price. So you'll pay less for them. You can sell them cheaper to the customers, but you won't be able to return them to the label. And that was quite a good deal, because you could still buy the records in the shops, but you will probably find them in the cheap section all of a sudden. So this cut actually means that the record store couldn't return them. And you'll find a lot of these in Europe, because a lot of companies shipped records to Europe on those conditions, that they couldn't return them. Buy them cheaply, but don't return them. So that's why you'll find these deletion cuts on many albums, US pressings for the most. You'll see them in shops all over the world, probably. But a lot of shops in Europe have these American pressings with, these,
horrible
stuff.
Oh,
horrible stuff.
Got chills.
That's just all kinds of wrong.
Yeah,
that's all kinds of wrong.
Well,
we shouldn't be doing that.
They don't bother me that much. I think, I immediately know when I see this that it's an American pressing. 9 out of 10, it's an American pressing. So I kind of know straight away that it's not a European pressing anyway. So if you're looking for American pressings, it's a good, it's a telltale sign, definitely.
I don't buy those unless they're in the dollar bin. I don't.
They often are. Are.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Are you ready for what I have? I've chosen this to be the last.
The grand finale.
The grand finale.
Let's do it.
One of my favorite albums. One of my favorite album covers, for sure. Now this is "School's Out" by Alice Cooper, and as I mentioned before, all these creative record covers, they were huge in the 70s. They were just playing around with anything. And Alice Cooper was the perfect guy for having these weird record covers with his, his persona and his music and all that. Everything just fitted perfectly. So this is it's at a glance, at a first glance here, this looks like a school desk. That's what it's meant to be. But of course, the school desk can open like a normal school desk. Oh, and I almost gave away the bonus here. I'll just keep that. So, and inside you'll see things that you usually find in any kid's school drawer in the 70s. And on the back side here, you can actually flip down what is then supposed to be legs. Yeah. You see? So it has desk legs, and you can open the lid here. But of course, the actual album is packed in a pair of pantyhoses made of paper.
That's awesome.
So that was the real gimmick. Real gimmick. Those are these panties here, and I think they were released in different colors. Maybe some were bluish or green or whatever. This is pink, I think. It used to be anyway. So the actual it's hell taking the album out, because you fear that you ruin the knickers, because of course the album in itself is not really one of those incredibly expensive albums, but of course if you have the original pennies, that will raise the prices a lot. Yeah. And I've seen them, and most of them are ripped, and some of them, of course, are gone many years ago. But this one is intact, so I'm quite pleased with this.
Cool. A fun fact, though, it is a real school bench. You know that, right?
Oh yeah. It's a photograph school bench. Yeah.
Because it's at the Hard Rock Cafe in Las Vegas.
Oh, is it?
I've seen it in real.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
So it had all those carvings and so forth, and they just took a picture of it, and it hangs there on the wall.
Great.
Yes.
There's looks like an Alice Cooper tattoo here.
Yeah.
Where the name spills out. Yeah. Oh, incredible! I didn't know that I didn't know it still exists, but I'm glad it does.
Yeah.
Great.
It is.
So, I mean, I've showed tons of records, tons of albums, and I could go on for the whole night. But I hope that people will understand or get this, that there are so many different things to look at, and just because you find one album doesn't mean it's the only version. You know, there might be 5-10 other versions of any album. So if you really need, or if you really want to collect, you're going to search these things up and do your own research and go online, go on Discogs. It's a great place to find different releases of albums and look up all the strange stuff. This is
and
one of the things that makes vinyl collecting so fun.
Yeah, and buy music that you love, and buy album covers that you think are cool.
First and foremost,
and maybe the music is also.
Yeah.
But if you're going in depth, like Soren and me, go to Discogs and or DM us, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And we'll tell you. So we got like multiple copies of all kinds of crap.
That was a good point you made there, Michael. Never buy music you don't like.
No, of course.
There is no reason to buy music you don't like.
No.
Exactly.
Just because other people think it's cool.
Yeah.
So don't buy. No, I'm not going to go there. But it's been great.
It's been great.
It has.
That was awesome.
Because it's. I get a lot of DMs with people going, how did you collect all those vinyl records? Because I show them on Instagram. I've been doing this for some years now, and it's all like I started out with stuff that I really love, and I started like with the history of that album, and I then backtracked if there was albums before released, and I bought those too, and then it all came along, and it moved from there, and I found out like different printings, pressing plans, like you said with matrix numbers and so forth, and you get to learn all the stuff as you go along, but foremost, buy records that you love, and everything will resolve itself in the end. So
I think all that talk about matrix numbers and all that's next level.
Yeah,
you know?
It is. It is.
Start off by finding music you like, and if you like how it sounds, the album, then it's probably very good for you.
Yeah.
But if you want to seek out multiple copies, if you want to seek out copies from different parts of the world. Go ahead. You will never be finished. You know, there will always be an album more for you out there. That's just the way it is.
Yes,
cool.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Soren.
Yeah, thanks, Soren. That was
great.
awesome. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, we'll see you guys next week. And until then, later.
Later.